Hello, I'm FPL MV and welcome back to another FPL preseason video. With everyone building their first drafts and the 3-5-2 formation looking like the most template one, I've decided to rank the most popular FPL midfielders. I will be ranking them based on how often they're playing 90 minutes for their team, based on last season, are they rotation risk, are they good attacking wise, are they making enough returns to be on your team, and sometimes I'm going to mention their FPL price, but that's not going to be the most important thing, because if you want price you can always save money from going someone cheaper, but if someone is a little bit expensive but he is the right guy for your team and he is the best guy in their team, it's a good option to have them. If you enjoy the content as usual, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going for 500 subs before the start of the season. If you have any other opinion about those midfielders, please write it down in the comment section. I enjoy to have a chat with every one of you. If you enjoy the video, give it a like, and now let's jump to that tier list. As you can see, I've prepared over 40 midfielders, so let's jump right into it. Almiron is the first guy. So what about Almiron? He had one of the best purple patches last season, but he got bad in form later on in the season and he was not even nailed. With Anthony Gordon being in the team and Saint Maximan returning from injury, I don't think Almiron place is pretty safe. Isaac and Wilson can play both together, and in that case Almiron is staying on the bench. He's a little bit of a rotation risk. He is not as good as a player as some of others Newcastle strikers, in my opinion. I think he got lucky last season with his purple patch. Yeah, he was like Messi, he was scoring every game basically, but I don't think that he can repeat that. So for me, he is not a very good pick. First of all, because he's not a regular starter. Then even if he starts, he's not staying 90 minutes, he's easily rotated. And third but not last, he is not going to be as consistent as last season. So in my opinion, he is straight into the avoid section. Next up is Andreas Pereira. He was last year's gem in FPL. He was 4.5. This season he is a little bit more expensive, but his qualities are well known. He's taking some of the set pieces from Fulham. He's scoring goals from free kicks. When Harry Wilson is not on the pitch, he's taking them. When Willian is not playing, he's taking corners. And he's a very good choice as a midfielder. His price is 5.5 this season, so this makes him a very good and viable option for your fourth or fifth midfielder, the cheaper one. But let's say he's nailed in my opinion, but he is not as a good pick as last season, because last season he was 4.5 and for that price you can't go any better basically. But for me he is not such a bad pick. If Fulham can hold their lineup as good as last season's, he may even got into a lot of teams when they have a purple form of patch, because he is that good. He will be more accustomed to their tactic and everything. So for me, he is a situational pick for sure. If you need a 5.5 midfielder, he is a very good option. Next up is Bailey. I don't like him a lot. I picked him last season because he was so hyped. His price dropped a lot and his form dropped a lot. Basically, he didn't pick up form at all. Next to Ollie Watkins, he was playing good, but he is not nailed because Buendia is playing in that place. When he's on the field, he's not scoring as oftenly as you prefer him and wants him to do. So I think he's the same as Almiron, but just worse. So I'm even put him in behind Almiron. Sorry. Yeah, Almiron is a better pick than him. I just don't want to go for Bailey. Next up is Benson, one of the best midfielders from a newly promoted side. He was a very good choice last season for their team. He was solid, he was doing good, but right now we have better midfielders to pick from, and I don't think it's worth the risk to start with a newly promoted midfielder. If someone is a striker being out of position, yes, but for me Benson is not that guy, and for me he's in the don't you dare section. Bowen, he is somewhat of a talisman for West Ham, especially after Rice is going to leave. He's going to be a very important player. Last season he was way overpriced. This year he is mid-priced, but he is nailed. He has good attacking opportunities, but he is not playing in a very good attacking wise team. Antonio is not up to par anymore. Skamaka is not scoring a lot of goals. Yeah, they won European trophy last season, but they were almost relegated. And for the same price point, you can pick better players and they will be more nailed, returning more points. He may be a very good option at some point of the season, but for game week 1, for sure, he's in the avoid section. For me, he's a better pick than Almiron, so he's at the top of avoid for now. Next up is a Bruno Guimaraes. He is the best midfielder in Newcastle, in my opinion. With the signing of Tonali will be there holding the M, so Bruno will go up front even more. When he was playing up front, when Shelby was behind his back, he was so good. He is the engine in their team. They cannot function at all without him. And for having such a good midfielder, being nailed, playing almost every time 90 minutes, and with his goal and work rate, I believe he is a very, very good pick for the start of the season. So I am picking him here as a very good pick. I may consider him even for the start of the season. Even though Newcastle have a bad fixture run, he is a very good pick. So yeah, he's staying there for now. Buendia, I can say the same things about him as Leon Bailey. He's not as nailed. He's not playing very well each game. He's just providing the ball to Watkins. Jacob Ramsey is scoring more goals from midfield than him. So for me, he is next to Ramsey. Sorry, Benson is here. Ramsey is not Ramsey, but Buendia is here to Bailey. And I consider them the same. They won't be separated. Just consider them the same price. Next up is Luis Diaz. Last season he got pretty bad injury at the start of the season, and Liverpool were not the same without him. He's a very good player. He is somehow nailed because he's in front of Jota and Darwin Núñez for the pecking order, but I believe if someone is going to be substituted, that's going to be him. To introduce maybe Darwin, and Gakpo will be changed for Jota, but Gakpo and Darwin are forwards, but basically playing the left wing position just as him. So for me, he is a situational pick for sure because he is good. He can score goals. He is somehow nailed, but his minutes are not there. So I am not considering him for my initial game week 1 draft. Next up is Doucouré. Doucouré saved Everton from relegation with his goal. I believe he is a very solid midfielder. And under Sean Dyche, he is playing more and more, but they're playing basically a better defensively than attacking wise. And I don't see Doucouré returning a lot of attacking things, basically. And for me, he's in a don't you dare section. He's in front of Benson for sure, but he is not very, very good. Attacking wise, defensively, he is very solid, but attacking wise, not as regularly scoring or returning to be in your game week 1 squad. Next up is Enciso. He is rumored to be the next number 10 for Brighton, but here I have a little bit of problem. Not his price, but his regular minutes. One is back training. Gross can play that position. They can swap other players. They have other young guys playing there. They can deploy 2 strikers. They can deploy Joao Pedro there. So for me, Enciso is a very risky guy. He's very good. He's very cheap. But for me, he is very risky and he is in a situational play just like Luis Diaz. Good players, but too many rotational risks. Eze is up next. He is a very good player, let's be honest. He got very high points, but I don't see him as and rank him as high as some other players here. He can have a very good season. He will be their focal point basically. He is nailed. He's playing almost every time 90 minutes. So he is in the very good pick graph, but in my opinion, Bruno is just better. He is having more return points Eze, but with not a very specific style being built, and Zaha out of the team and not an out striker. For me, he's in a very good pick section, but not very highly. I may consider him in front of Enciso and Andres Pereira for sure, and from Luis Diaz, but not before Bruno. I believe Bruno will have a very, very good season if Newcastle are to keep up with their good form. Next up, we have Bruno Fernandes, and he got a very good price this season. He's 8.5, and that makes him a very appealing pick because last season he was not, just because of the price. But have in mind that this year they bought Mount, and they're basically a very mirror wise players. If let's say they have Casemiro playing behind their back and they have two eights like Mount and Fernandes, who is going to drop back to assist Casemiro to move the ball forward. One of them who is going to be maybe Mount, maybe Bruno. We don't know yet. He's a very good pick. Don't mistaken my words that I don't like him as a FPL pick. He is very good, but he is not as nailed as prefer him to be, because let's say Rashford is on the left, they have Anthony and Sancho on the right. They will buy a striker. If they don't buy it, it will be Martial or Rashford for sure. So he can play on the right wing, but he can play as an 8 that can deliver the ball and move it up front. We have to see how often he is going to be playing up there. He has one very good thing in his back, those penalties, and he's taking their penalties for now. So he is a very good pick over Eze for sure, but not over Bruno in my opinion. Next up, we have Foden and Grealish, both of them together. I will discuss why they are together. They basically operate on the same flank and on the same position. They are left wingers, they're playing there. Foden can play as an attacking midfielder or a shadow striker, which gives him the upper hand ahead of Grealish in my opinion, but they're not 90-minute players and they're not nailed. They're very good picks, but in my opinion, both of them are behind Bruno in my pecking order, because for they're a little bit cheaper than him. And if we have a sniff that one of them is going to be nailed and is playing consistently during preseason, starts in the Community Shield trophy, then is rumored to be playing and we have a very solid foundation for the start of the season, I may consider one of them, because they have a very good start of the season, and having two attackers from Manchester City looks like very tasty combo, and triple up from Man City looks like the way it goes. Even for 20 minutes of playing time they can deliver a lot more points. So yeah, I'm moving them ahead of Bruno, sorry. And I'm moving them even ahead the other Bruno. Yeah, the two Brunos are together. For me, Foden, even most probably Foden, will be a very highly considered player because he is that good. Next up is it's Pascal Gross. And Gross, it's 6.5 midfielder. He's the same as the other two guys. We will discuss them in a bit. But let's say that I don't know where he will play. He can play right back, he can play 8, he can play a 6, he can play a 10, he can play wherever, and I'm not very satisfied with that because I want him as upfront as possible. He may be a penalty taker right now when McAllister is gone, but we don't know that yet for sure. So for me, he is a situational player. He is better than Andreas because he's in a better side for sure, but for now he is going to be here. Next up is Kai Havertz, and I rank Kai Havertz very highly. Kai Havertz is a new transfer for Arsenal. I believe that he will replace Odegaard's last year's position, and he will be that attacking shadow strikers together with him. But when they have to move up the ball upfield, Odegaard will drop a little bit to get it from Rice and just to pass it to maybe Havertz and then distribute it to Saka and to Martinelli/Trossard. We will get to that. But for me, Havertz will be joining the attacks. He will be a shadow striker. He will be having a striker up front of him. And he will be a very, very good pick, in my opinion. And he is... Foden and Havertz are the same because they have the same start of the season. Basically, they're playing in a very good side. But yeah, I rank Havertz highly. He's already in my side. Maybe Foden will take his place. Maybe someone else will. But for now, these two guys are together and inseparable for me. Next up is Jota. Jota, the same things apply for him that I said for Luis Diaz. For me, a pretty good player, but not nailed, not 90 minutes. He can score a lot of goals. Being a midfielder makes him even more appropriate pick if some of Liverpool attacker is injured, because he's gaining more points for scoring goals and for getting a point for clean sheet. So yeah, he's even higher than Luis Diaz because he's an out of position striker at some games. So yeah, Luis Diaz is below Jota in my pecking order. Next up is KDB, and KDB for me is even in a No, I don't want to drop him here, but in a very low avoid position, maybe below Bowen. He's in a very awkward price range, 10.5. His salary is 2 millions more expensive, and everyone else is at least 1 million and a half cheaper. And he is injured to begin with. He won't have a full preseason. So for me, he is in a avoid position. He is not as bad as those three guys because he's nailed after game week 1 when he returns. But for that price range, I won't be going for him. Next up is Kovacic. Kovacic is a pretty interesting midfielder. If he takes the Gundogan role for 5.0 midfielder, and if he starts scoring the same goals as Gundogan and getting in more position, he will be a very, very good player. Basically, Rodri and John Stones most probably will be playing together as a two holding DMs, and he will be next to KDB/Foden to start the season, playing just back of Haaland and just joining those channels. And if he can learn to play that, he will be a very good pick, in my opinion. But for now, he is a situational pick, and he is at the top of situational picks. Next up, Kulusevski. He is at the good price range. He is playing as a right winger. Lucas is gone, but with under new management, I don't know how nailed he will be. He is just a new signing basically, with Madison coming into the side. Don't know if Kane is staying. If Kane is not staying, he will be a nailed right winger. But for me, he is a situational pick at most. He is not. I'm not considering him to be starting the game, and yeah, I don't think you should too. McAllister, a new Liverpool signing. We don't know how Liverpool will line up in midfielders position and how they will line those midfielders because let's be honest, Gakpo, Salah, and Diaz/Jota is starting. The back four is starting, so we have three midfielders position. We have Fabinho, Thiago, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Henderson. I'm missing someone here, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott. Maybe Harvey Elliott will be Salah replacement, but at least six midfielders fighting for those three positions. He won't be the Liverpool penalty taker, let's be honest. So for me, he's in a void for start of the season. Maybe a yeah, a top of avoid position, but I will not be considering him at all. Even if he seems nailed, his attacking threat is unknown. Liverpool don't want to develop that midfielder to score a lot of goals. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he becomes a very good pick if he's playing, but he has a lot of players to fight for his position, and he is not as nailed as Salah, so he's staying away for now from my team. Next up is Madison. Madison is a new signing for Spurs. He can take a lot of set pieces, free kicks, and corners, most probably, because penalties are for Harry Kane, let's be honest. But if Harry Kane leaves, he won't be taking the penalties, in my opinion. But the other free kicks and the corners are up for grabs, and I believe that he will be a very, very good set piece taker. He's going to be nailed, in my opinion. They signed him to be playing. He'll be playing in front of Højbjerg and Bentancur, maybe. So yeah, he's a very good pick, and he is around the Havertz, Madison, Foden position. I maybe should have made another set of players that are most probably in my game week 1 team, but those 7 guys for now are most probably in my game week 1 team. I just need to find the right balance. But yeah, for me, very good players. Next up is Mahrez. I don't like Mahrez a lot because first of all, he's not nailed. Second of all, he is not nailed, and third of all, he is not scoring a lot of goals when he's there. He's sometimes their penalty taker, sometimes not. He's missing some penalties, scoring some. I'm in a situational pick, and he's around the Liverpool boys, the same issues. He's not nailed, he's playing in a good side, but Bernardo Silva is operating there. If they sell Bernardo Silva, maybe he is a very locked player, but there are rumors that he's leaving. I don't know, I don't seem to like him a lot. Next up is Solly March. Solly March, a very solid player, the same price as Gross for now. And he is, for me, in a very good pick bracket next to in front of Eze, but below Bruno. I prefer Bruno more than March because March can sometimes play a little bit more defensively to leave the when the game's turn because he's playing as a right winger, right like Estupinian is playing on the left, and we have Gross, Swash, and Siso operating in front of him, and he's not too often in the box. He's scoring a lot of goals. He's having good games sometimes, but if Wamti is not the guy playing on the right back position, I don't see March as a must-own player, so he's here in the very good pick, but below those 6 guys that are in my shortlist for sure. Next up, Martinelli, and this will be one of the most controversial things for me, but he is in a high avoid. Hear me out. He and Trossard are playing, okay, not high avoid, sorry. Around the midfielders of Liverpool. Here we have most probably nailed guys for the first 4 picks. And here the next 5, it's just players that are rotatable risks, not going to play 90 minutes. Very good players, don't get me wrong, but not going to play 90 minutes. They're injury free right now. But Trossard and Martinelli are competing for one spot. Smith Rowe can get into that spot. If someone is going off, it's most probably Martinelli. And I don't see me going for him instead of some of Arsenal other midfielders, especially Havertz. But yeah, Martinelli here for now. Next up, we have Mbuemo. Mbuemo is going to be their striker, let's be honest, together with Wissa, both of them. And I believe that he can have a very good half season before Tony returns. So he's a very good pick. He is over Bruno for sure for me, both of Bruno's. But yeah, even over Grealish, maybe they're not as separable. No. They're basically the same. They had a very good run of some fixtures, some purple patches, and Tembuemo is a very good price point. He's below their prices, so he is most probably around their pick rate. So yeah, I like him a lot. Next up is Morgan Gibbs White. For me, Morgan Gibbs White is a situational pick at most. He's somehow nailed. I don't prefer him more than those 4 guys. I prefer him more than Sisu maybe. But yeah, Morgan Gibbs White gets here because he's the guy that saved them, let's be honest. But he is also sometimes going off before the 90 minutes, not scoring as many goals, so he's in that bracket place. Mudryk, for me, he's at a low of situational pick. I believe Sterling is better, Madueke is better, but we have to see how Pochettino is lining up his team. If he is nailed on that left wing position for that price with that Chelsea run of fixtures, he's a very good option, but I believe Sterling is just better. Next up is Mitoma. Mitoma is at high, very good pick in my opinion. He's playing regularly. He's their best player right now when McAllister left. He is not having such a good goal threat in front of goal. He's missing some sitters, but I believe that he can improve and he will be a very, very good choice of midfielders to start the season with. So see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players already in midfield that are in contention. And right now my draft is in 3-4-3. I may have to reconsider that, but we will take a look at my draft at a later video. Today we're only discussing how good the midfielders are. Next up is Mount. Until we know how good Mount is, he is below Bruno. He is below... No, not below Manchester United will be a good side this season, but Bruno has penalties, and we just have to see how often he will get in those good positions to score some goals. Next up is Odegaard. Odegaard is below Mbuemo for me because, as I already explained, he can go and just deploy the ball as a box-to-box and take the Xhaka role, basically provide more coverage for the defense because they cannot defend only with Rice or with a holding GM. They will need another midfielder to go there, and I believe Odegaard will be the guy, so I won't rank him as highly as last season when he was just a beast. Next up is Ulisse. If Zaha don't sign a new contract with Crystal Palace, Ulisse is top of situational picks. That's the definition of a situational pick because Ulisse is a very good right winger. He's young, he's playing very well, and if he got some regular minutes, he will become a very, very high priority. But for now, he is, I would say, over Mahrez for sure. Lucas Paqueta, for me, he's an avoid. He's below HB or Miron. Yeah, somewhere here. not a very good pick right now. He is not showing and living up to his potential. He is a starter from Brazil's national team, but he cannot pick a very good start or to get into a good form. He does not have a very good striker in front of him right now, so he's an avoid for me, at least not up until he shows something good. Jacob Ramsey, he is a situational pick at most. Yeah, I like Aston Villa fixtures for sure. It will be a very good fixture run for them. And let's see how they are going to deploy Ramsey. If he is a shadow striker like last season, arriving late into the box, he may jump in front of Gross for sure. But for now, we don't know anything about how Aston Villa will be playing. Will they sign someone else to play off of Watkins? Will he be playing the guy off of Watkins? We have to wait and see. And for now, he's at the bottom of situational picks. Marcus Rashford, he is right here for me. Hear me out. He is a left winger slash striker. He did not have a very good end of last season, and he is very expensive compared to those five guys in front of him. He is 1.5 million more expensive, at least 2.5 more than Mituma, which is not a very good price range. And in my opinion, you can go and start the season without Rashford. I believe Bruno will have a better output return. They're basically the same with output. Yeah, he became a very good player at one point of the season last season, and he was the most important player in each one's drafts. But for now, I believe that he's better than Bruno for sure. But if you don't need a 9.0 midfielder in your team, you can drop him. If he's the most expensive point in your team, he becomes a must pick. But in my occasion, he is not a must pick. And I believe there are more important midfielders, and we were getting to them. But for now, he's staying here. Richarlison, a very situational pick, the same price as Kulusevski. If Harry Kane leaves, he becomes their striker, and he's an out of position striker for a Spurs side. Even though he did not have a very good record last season for the minutes he played, he was getting into those positions, and that VAR system just destroyed his record. But if Harry Kane leaves, he is a situational pick. If Harry Kane stays, he's in a avoid pick, but for now, he's a situational pick at most. We're getting into the most nailed player for me. It's Saka. What can you say about him? The golden boy for Arsenal generation. The best player on their side, the most nailed one. He's taking penalties, he's scoring them, he's scoring hat-tricks, he's providing assists, he's getting into good positions. Saka for me, a very, very important player. If Trossard swash, I will get to Trossard, I will discuss even more the Arsenal boys, but Saka for me, the most nailed player. He does not have someone to swap him. He's playing 90 minutes, and he is, in my opinion, the best player on the game for Arsenal for that price range. And for those opening fixtures, nailed 90 minutes penalties, cheap price, it's everything you can want in a midfielder. And for me, he's the must pick for game week 1. Next up is Salah, and I will surprise most of you, but for me, he is a must pick. Hear me out. Here I'm going to talk about prices. Salah is the only midfielder around 12.5. The next best thing and close to his price is KDB, who is 10.5. That's 2 million at least. Let's say you're not going for KDB because he's injured and you're not going for Salah. You're going for, let's say, Rashford. And you have Rashford in your team. You need 3.5 millions to free from somewhere to go from Rashford to Salah. If you have Rashford, it's most probably a nailed player and you won't be wanting to go up from him and to sell him. You'll be wanting to replace an 8-point midfielder, 8.0 midfielder or 7.5. That's 6 millions to go, 4 to 5 millions to go from a midfielder to Salah. From where are you getting him? Are you selling Haaland? No way. Are you selling someone from up front? There is not another striker apart from Harry Kane that you can save 4 million from. You can go from Watkins to what? A 4 million? You don't have a 4 million striker. And most probably you'll be made to sell Trent and sacrifice 4 million and go from 8.0 to 4.0, which is not ideal. You're basically going from a starting best defender to the worst defenders in the game. So most probably you'll be persuaded to sell two players. You sell two players and a midfielder, at least a 8 to 9 million midfielder, just to make room for Salah in your team, because if Salah starts the season good and you don't own him, you regret it for sure. You trigger your wild card, you trigger everything. For me, Salah is a must for that reason. He is more important than Trent, because you can sell an 8.0 midfielder and a 4.5 defender and just swap the positions and play with Trent there, but not going for Salah and then you wanting him. It's a very, very risky game, and I don't want to be playing it. It's the same like going without Haaland. How can you get him in your team? With a wild card or heavily hitting your side, at least with one, let's say, at least one hit, and just destroying your formation, your structure in the team. For me, going without Salah is a no-brainer, and personally, I won't be going without him. Let's move on to Son. Son, a very good price range, but he's around the Marcus Rashford point. Below him, he is the same price. They for me are the same. They're good players. They're not on penalties. They're playing very well. They can be very explosive for the same price. They're just into pairs. Like those two are in a pair. Those two are in a those four in a pair to say. Those two are. And Mbeumo and Bruno are just Odegaard to swap them. Odegaard and Bruno are in the same. Then it's Mount, just a standout guy there. And then it's Martinez in the same price slash place in a team row. So yeah, basically it's decision between wanting to have two of those four or one of those two and one of those two. Maybe Odegaard, maybe Mbeumo and Bruno Guimaraes, Bruno or Odegaard. It's up to you to decide, but basically those midfielders here are very, very good. I can move Sterling into that bracket as well. He's in the Mount position. We don't know where he's going to play, and where he is not going to be attacking wise good, just moving the ball, what his role will be in that Manchester United side. Is he going to be nailed? Is he going to be rotated from time to time? We don't know. The same from Sterling. Madueke is there. They can play with someone else on the right wing. They are buying another striker, Jackson. They can play without strikers. They can play with a lot of midfielders. They can do whatever. So these guys the same thing. These guys the same thing. Mitoma is a standalone, so he's basically a must pick for me, but a very good pick. Let's say not must, because a Brighton player to be a must, it's very tricky to say, especially an attacker that's not very good in front of the goal, but for now he's there. Those four guys, I can pick at least one of them. Those two guys, those two guys, yeah, they're basically in pairs, and it's 50-50 to who could go for. And Mbeumo and Bruno for me are better than Martinez, even though they're in the same price range. Next up is Sabuswai. He is at the bottom of situational picks for me. He is 7.0 million, and he's not nailed for now. He is not nailed, not knowing how Liverpool will line up. He's going to be a 10, 2 10s with one defender behind, one CDM behind them, 2 CMs. Hendo will join his side, a very strong right-sided midfielder for sure next to Salah, but Salah will go in position. He will overlap him. For me, he is around the McAllister price, let's be honest. And the last guy here is Trossard. Trossard is an avoid for me, a very high avoid, because Martinelli is a good player. Martinelli will be the starter, but Trossard will be coming just off the bench to maybe some knock up the clean sheet for him, or the over 60 minutes points for him. Basically, Trossard can disrupt a lot of Martinelli's good returns, and vice versa. If some of them is injured, the other is nailed for sure. So they become a very good picks, especially being cheaper than Saka and Odegaard. But for now, they're rotational risks for me, and I won't be choosing. As you can see, I have 1-2 nailed midfielders, and then 3 positions maximum. Let's say for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 15 midfielders that can place in maximum of 3 positions. Let's say 15 midfielders basically for 2 positions, because I want to have strikers because they're in a very good price range and I want to have some of them, but it's maybe a 6.5 to 6.0 midfielder for the fifth spot and 6.0 to 5.5 attacker. We have to see what the budget is going to be, but it's not a budget video. This attacking wise video. For me, Tuchel and Benson, not the guys. Saka and Salah for sure in my starting lineup if they're injury free, because they're that good. And the other guys, it's going to be a very hard decision because those are basically in the same price range. 2 or 3 million separate them, and they're very good players. Some of the situational guys can take a front if someone is injured, maybe, and if someone is nailed. So, very, very hard decisions coming our way because we want 15 midfielders and no one else, but we can only develop maximum 5. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video and have any other opinion, or enjoy and just want to share your opinion, just share it down in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel. As I said, I have a goal that I want to achieve before the start of the season. Help me achieve it. And I hope to see you very soon with another FPL video. But for now, guys, I will be heading out. Bye!